entitled Couch Potatoes Unite! Exclamation point. This is a podcast based on a blog of the same name because it's no catchy moniker like Spear of Destiny, but it'll do. My name is Kylie and I love TV. If you feel the same, keep listening and or checking out the blog at couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com, as you're bound to find some common ground or something you like. For at Couch Potatoes Unite, we're all about the wonders and the unique long-form storytelling of the small screen. CPU! Exclamation point. Hopes you've been following releases of brand new episodes of the podcast on Wednesdays, as well as new blog entries on some Tuesdays. And as always, we have several more new episodes on the way. Because the panelists and I live lives behind our podcast, the episodes are published once per week. Subscribe to the blog or the podcast via iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and via Google Play to stay on top of brand new episodes. Episodes already published discuss a variety of shows around the water cooler, including, but not limited to, How to Get Away with Murder, Gotham, Once Upon a Time, Supernatural, and Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Plus, new episodes are in the works, including revisits for The 100, Doctor Who, The Originals, Sense8, Game of Thrones, Stranger Things, and the Marvel's Defenders panel will return to discuss the Ultimate Defenders crossover miniseries. There'll be a final visit with our Vampire Diaries panel, I promise, to say goodbye to the long-running series in a two-part episode. We'll have a final two-part episode discussing the final season of Broadchurch, and we'll be launching new panels covering Lemony Snicket's Unfortunate Events, Grace and Frankie, and The Good Place. And because we look back at shows now past, we'll be looking back at one of our most popularly requested panels ever in the history of CPU, and that would be Friends. What's more, CPU is going live again. We've been planning some live events, as I've repeatedly been alluding to in these introductions, and we're super excited about them. We already went live on Facebook, from the bunker, that is, when our Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt panel talked Season 3. Our 100th episode recorded live at Comedy Outlet Mondays at Dog Story Theater in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And now we have a special live event coming up on October 21st when we return to Grand Rapids Comic-Con to launch a Battle for the Stars, Star Trek versus Star Wars, and the ultimate space debate. We also have more live appearances and other cool stuff being planned, so make sure you like us at our Facebook page, our Twitter, follow us at CPU Podcast, our Instagram at Couch Potatoes Unite, and or our Pinterest at CPU Podcast, or subscribe to the blog, our YouTube channel, our iTunes channel, our Stitcher Radio channel, or find us on Google Play. In the meantime, if you don't hear a show in this podcast format, fellow panelists and I still write reviews, and we're always seeking new panelists, so if you have any interest in joining the discussion, say hello by finding us at any of those outlets I've mentioned. At the very least, stop by and leave us a thumbs up, comment, or review. We like feedback, just keep it in the time stream. Don't go changing history in all those bad sorts of ways. Today we're around the water cooler and continuing another of CPU's podcast series. This series does not have a fixed number of episodes like other series we do. It is ongoing and covers a so far growing number of shows, maybe they finally leveled off, that seem to increasingly fall under one large umbrella, expanding into a well-made, quite popular universe of comic book adaptations as the interest in these adaptations grows. With that said, today's episode is part 7 of our DCTU expert panel discussing the DC television universe, or television programs adapted from DC comic book properties that have morphed and expanded into one universe across shows and even across networks. In the 7th episode of our series, we return to digest the 2nd season of the Arrowverse's 2nd spin-off, namely DC's Legends of Tomorrow. To remind the listener, Legends of Tomorrow is an American superhero action-adventure television series developed by Greg Berlanti, Mark Guggenheim, Andrew Kreisberg, and Phil Klemmer, who are also executive producers, along with Sarah Schechter and Chris Vidak. The series, based on the characters of DC Comics, airs on the CW and is a spin-off from Arrow and The Flash, existing in the same fictional universe. When Vandal Savage murders his family, Time Master Rip Hunter, played by Arthur Darvill, goes rogue. Intending to stop him, he recruits a team consisting of the Atom, played by Brandon Routh, White Canary, played by Katie Lotz, Firestorm, played by Victor Garber and Franz Drama, Hawkman, played by Falk Henschel, Hawk Girl, played by Shara Renee, and Captain Cold, played by Wentworth Miller, as well as Heatwave, played by Dominic Purcell. They discovered that the Time Masters are backing Savage in his domination of the world in 2166. In Season 2, with the Time Masters defeated, the team are left to guard the timeline themselves and learn to cope in Rip's absence after he disappears. However, they are continually plagued by the Legion of Doom, a time-traveling supervillain team led by Reverse Flash, or Eobard Thawne, played by Matt Letcher, who has recruited past versions of Damien Dark, played by Neil McDonough, Malcolm Merlin, played by John Barrowman, and Leonard Snart, or Captain Cold, to help him find the Spear of Destiny of biblical fame, with which they can rewrite their fates. The team is joined by new members, namely Amaya Jiwe, or Vixen, played by Maisie Richardson Sellers, an African superhero from the 1940s superhero team, the Justice Society of America, and Nate Haywood, or Steel, played by Nick Zano, a modern-day historian with the power to become solid metal. Today in our 7th DCTU episode, our DCTU panel, Kyle, Hilary, Spencer, Kristen, and Nick, return, the members of which have not seen each other since we did our mid-season DCTU roundup, which consisted of blind interviews with each of them in the late winter or early spring. They'll be focusing today specifically upon Season 2 of DC's Legends of Tomorrow, but before we get into the discussion, I'm going to take a moment to take their temperature. After all, as we all know, sometimes a TV show can take turns for the better, or the worse in our heads, or can continue its level of awesomeness or lack thereof, depending upon the story evolution. As always, it should be noted that every single one of our panelists has viewed the entire show to date, and will likely discuss sensitive plot points. So for those of you who are not caught up on DC's Legends of Tomorrow, listen at your own risk, as there may be major spoilers. Welcome back, panel. How are you?
Good.
Yeah, great stuff.
You did what now?
What? There were words.
What?
Words that formed a sentence?
Maybe a phrase of some sort.
Oh,
It's
boy.
Spencer.
It's
me.
Spencer.
Words came out and they weren't in the right order.
Well, hopefully they'll be in the right order as we talk about Legends of Tomorrow. But before we do, I'm going to check your temperature with the standard CPU character question that changes with each show we do. Are you ready to answer that question?
Sure.
Yes.
Wonderful. So how would you rate your interest in DC's Legends of Tomorrow following the end of the second season? Do you watch it because you're scientifically curious about what they're trying to do with the show within the annals of DC live-action adaptations and the show's relationship to the Arrowverse, and or because you burn like the fire within to watch it and to save all of time? In short, you found a spark within you watching the show and you love it and what it has brought to your life, such as your unexpected daughter, like Dr. Martin Stein, aka Firestorm. Do you watch it because your other half watches it, like Jefferson Jax Jackson, aka Firestorm's other half? Do you watch it because you think it's legend? Wait for it. Dairy, and or because you want to be a legend just like these future legends, because right now you're feeling a little small. Or maybe you think the show is a little small compared to its higher rated big brothers, Arrow and the Flash, like Ray Palmer, aka the Atom. Do you watch it for practicality's sake? After all, you're the captain now, and you want to make sure this crew of motley dysfunctional heroes does the right thing and doesn't waste or destroy time, and or you want the show to be better than it is, and or you need to stay up on it to be part of this podcast panel, like Sarah Lance, aka White Canary. Do you basically watch it because you like to know everything that's going on throughout time and space to be helpful when called upon to provide trivia or tidbits of such knowledge, like Gideon? Do you watch it but you really only liked the second half of the season? You've forgotten, at least temporarily, most of the first season and even most of the first half of this season, probably because you didn't like what you saw very much in the end, and or because your character was rendered somewhat useless by the end of the first season, and or because your memory was altered several times over, like Rip Hunter. Do you watch it because your best friend used to watch it? You don't actually like it all that much, or so you pretend. Your best friend long since stopped watching it, or only checks in on it occasionally, but despite your better judgment or possible need to be intoxicated when at all possible, this silly little show might be growing on you, though you'd never admit that openly, like Mick Rory, aka Heatwave. Did you only start watching it this season, and you think that it's kind of cool, that it definitely has some cool twists on history, your favorite subject, and that the characters are fun, particularly the Atom? Also, you really enjoy the Vixen character, possibly for sexy reasons. Either way, you're ready to go with the flow and let things roll off your back, particularly since you're made of steel, like Nathan Haywood, aka Steel.
Wow.
Did you only start watching it this season and you feel somewhat out of place or lost watching it? You have a strong sense of inner purpose and sometimes feel that this show and its ragtag team of characters loses its purpose or gets distracted too easily from its main story threads. At least you find some of the male characters attractive, especially the Steel character like Amaya Jiwe, aka Vixen. Or do you hate watch it or don't want to watch it anymore You're forced to watch it to stay alive or to stay on the podcast panel, and it gnaws at you like Black Flash / Hunter Zolomon tries to do to you. Or you jump the shark because, spoiler, you faded away, being the spoiler time remnant that you are, though you thought the villains were fun this season, and maybe the only fun thing about this show, like Eobard Thawne, aka Reverse Flash. Who would like to start?
Oh dear God.
I'll start because it's fresh. Okay.
I call next.
I'm off to...
So, I would say a mixture
Sorry. Side conversation.
Rory and Eobard Thawne. I watched it because the Legion of Doom I love. And the villains are great this season. And then the rest of the show, it's kind of growing on me. It's flawed. I really did not like the first season.
Would you like to be intoxicated whenever possible?
Yeah.
Okay.
But this season,
it's part of the description.
This season for me was a lot better. It did have some meandering episodes, but nothing as bad as the first season or Hawkgirl and Hawkman.
Oh, God. Stop bringing up flashbacks, non-flashbacks.
So I would say that pretty perfectly sums up where I land on the spectrum.
So Heatwave and Reverse Flash.
Yes.
What was your name?
Kyle.
Hi, Kyle. Welcome back.
Hi, Kyle.
Hi, Kyle.
Who was next?
Me.
Okay.
Hi, it's Kristen.
Hi, Kristen.
Hi, so the way you wrote these descriptions, you're making me choose more than one. So first of all, for reasons. For reasons. I'm going to kind of work backwards because the one that stuck with me was I'm Vixen because I find especially the Steel character very attractive.
I like sexy times.
I have liked that actor since he was on, What About You with Amanda Bynes back in the day? Yep.
Wow, window into you.
Do you like him more than Monel? Oh! Well, they say Monel.
Somebody get her a fan, quick.
So wait, you do?
She literally is thought processing.
Sophie's choice.
Can I have both?
Oh my.
No, you gotta choose.
No. You know what? I give you permission.
Okay.
Whatever that means.
If I have to choose, I'm going to go with this guy because I've liked him longer.
Oh,
But
statements.
Manel, you have my number whenever you break up with Supergirl. So yeah, so Vixen because I like the Steel. I think the Steel character is sexy.
Okay.
Sexy.
Rip Hunter because I liked the second half of the season better than the first.
Okay.
Gideon because I have to know everything that's going on, even though I don't provide trivia. That's Kyle.
Self-awareness is good.
And then Sarah Lance and White Canary because she's my girl, and because Jesus. Shut up, you!
You're so distracted.
Because I watch it for practicality's sake, and I need to stay up with this to be part of the panel. But I do like the show a lot.
Oh.
That still stands.
But you still probably maybe wouldn't be as devoted without the podcast?
Yeah.
She'd watch it just for Steel.
Now I will.
Mostly on slow motion.
Fair.
Now I will.
Fair statement.
She's come around because of Steel.
Hearts.
Hearts.
So many jokes there, but we'll leave them.
That's alright. He's sexy. I'll take him.
Welcome back, Kristen.
Thank you.
So I'll say I am
What's
Rip
your
Hunter.
name?
I'm Spencer.
Hi, Spencer.
Mixture of Rip Hunter and Mr. Rory.
Not
Not
so surprised.
Not surprised.
One's English, the other's grumpy. There you go.
There you go. And this show has the propensity to either be fantastic or be terrible. And the Rip Hunter side
like
comes
Spencer.
in because
The spice is starting early, kids. Hope you're ready for this
They
ride.
missed each other.
but not really.
I
I got derailed there.
I know, I'm sorry.
Don't worry. What comes around goes around.
That's true. Self-awareness is good.
Yes. So, really, the first season was okay. You saw great potential. The first half of the second season without Rip was just disjointed, terrible, awful. Nearly said, yeah, I'm going to have to stop watching this. Then the George Lucas episode happened and everything was fixed.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, welcome back. Heatwave
and Rip Hunter.
Okay. Welcome back, Spencer.
Thank you.
I'll go. I'm Hilary.
Hi, Hilary.
What's up? So,
That's
yeah.
silly.
Are you someone's sister?
Oh, that's right. Thanks, Spencer.
Don't you
I'm totally
think
forgetting
they
to
know
say
this
that.
by now?
No.
Are Are you sure?
Just
But
remind
this is
them.
the first
It's called the
episode.
Hilary disclaimer. It needs to go at the beginning of every
Okay.
And it's
podcast.
going to be spicy.
Okay, so the moderator's my sister Kylie.
What?
And Kyle already talked, and he forgot his name. He's my husband. Anyways, I think I'm a little bit of Stein because I do want to see always what they're continuing to try to do with all the DC characters and the different properties and how they connect with each other in the Arrowverse.
And you burn like the fire within to watch it?
Not always, but more the first part of that.
Okay.
And also the first part of Rip where I think it was Rip who's the one that likes the
back half.
back half of the season. Yeah, that one.
Because that's the one he can remember.
And I'm just going to say Steel because
Sexy.
of the sexy vixen and the sexy times, just because you put that in there. And the last
I didn't know what to
one-
say by now.
I mean, just because, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just bad. If she's going to say Steel, someone should give Vixen some love. I'm just saying.
Okay, fair
And then also...
I guess I could volunteer.
There you go.
I know, there's
He's
still a
jumping
guy
on-
that has to answer.
He's
too.
jumping on my Vixen bandwagon. Anyways, oh wait, and then Thawne. Oh, you should have gone there. It would have been great. They can't see you gesturing.
Everyone went there, Hilary.
Yeah, we kind of did.
Wait a second. What was the last one? Oh, and I like the villains.
Love the
But you don't hate watch it.
All of the what? You're adding all 3 villains?
No,
No,
one of
she's-
the descriptions was you like it
You
because
like
you
the
like the
villains.
villains.
Oh,
I forget which character
which
though because there were
character?
so
Reverse
many.
Flash.
Jumping in,
And
but
yes, because like Kyle said, he's just fun to watch.
Yeah.
Always.
The
They're all
villains
fun
are
to
great.
watch.
Can I add him onto mine too? I like
You
the
didn't
villains.
mention
I
it?
mean, you
No.
like mentioned all of them.
I think we all like the
So
villains.
we can just go with that.
Just chaos at this point.
Nick, bring us back to order. Welcome back, Hilary.
But can Nick do it in
Yeah.
one?
Yeah.
Can you do it?
Can you though? Really?
He
Yeah.
can.
Do just one?
Yeah.
He's gonna show us up on our panel.
He's going to stubbornly be challenged.
Oh, he's challenged.
He's
Oh.
we should mention.
I am prenatal,
It's true.
according to your
Yes, we
description.
should mention that this is actually the
That's what
first
she
time.
typed.
I did. This
Nick
is
was
actually the
prenatal.
first time that Nick is joining the full panel because his first episode was the
Oh,
interview
yeah.
episode.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's typically on the Marvel panel, but now you're
So-
DC.
And
this,
Gotham.
so this means you're joining us for all the DC panels now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He knew what he was getting into.
Spectacular.
Which, I don't remember which was that. Which was my first one? Have I not talked about Flash or did the
Nope.
order of
You've
recording?
only done the
This is really the
roundup.
first-
It
Okay.
is. Sorry.
Wow.
We just see each other so much we lose track.
Figure Nick's a part of our lives.
Yeah.
I watch you while you sleep.
He's like,
That's cool.
he's like creepy Charles in charge.
I mean, they are neighbors, but
Yeah.
continue,
Yeah.
Nick. Welcome back, and what is your character?
I would-
One character that you picked.
I would pick Stein because it's more of a curious. It's not. It's not like the scientific method here, but just curious about the show and learning about. This is how I'm learning about a lot of DC characters that I've never even heard of before. So they're not getting anything wrong for me.
Do you burn like the fire within to watch it?
No.
I
You
think
have
you need
another
to
man
admit your
inside you.
passions.
You just wanted,
have another
you just
man
wanted
inside.
someone to say they burn like a fire within,
That
and
is
none of us
correct.
are biting.
No.
He goes,
will.
No.
No,
So just
You had to
Stein
think
then.
about it though.
Only Stein?
but without the fire within.
Correct.
So like a
No
lukewarm
fire.
firestorm.
A lukewarm fire stuff. Yeah.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Well, welcome to the panel, Nick.
Thanks.
Officially.
Yeah.
It's about to get spicy. That's how
I
About
know.
to get spicy.
Thank you.
Or has, yeah, it's probably good.
There's
And
a
of course-
volley thrown already.
At least. And of course, I'm Kylie. I'm moderating somehow. I don't know how I'll do it, but I'm moderating and I'm participating today. Let's see. The last time I was White Canary and Captain Cold, and I can't choose him, but I love him. But I would
Yes.
probably say,
I do love him.
I don't know what I am. I should have picked this before. I think I'm a
Kylie, come on,
combination.
you had all
Hey!
our characters.
I'm moderating. I think I had a combination of the Atom and White Canary. I think the show could be legend. Wait for it, Dairy.
All right, Barney
That's
Stinson.
a different show.
I know, but it fits his
fits.
character too a little bit.
Ish.
I do think the show is a little small compared to its higher rated Big Brothers. I like I still think I don't know. I definitely like the Flash better. And White Canary, while I am the captain of the ship, and I did make the assignments of the podcast, so I guess I would have to pick this. And I want to make sure this motley crew stays together.
Good
There,
luck.
I
As
picked two.
in us Motley Crue, or like the show's Motley Crue?
Yes!
Right.
So welcome back to the panel. Nick, you should probably answer the question. How did you find out about Legends? What made you start watching? What kept you watching? Why are you watching? Etc., etc.
I feel like I already answered this, but it might have been for Gotham.
It was.
It
Because
was.
it's the same reason. You were on the Marvel panels together, and every time we met to talk about Marvel, you all, and playing the rest of the panel, would
Yeah.
discuss the DC shows, so I just...
We have influenced you.
I started, and I did not like Flash or Arrow. I gave up, and then we met for another Marvel panel, and you guys convinced me to keep watching.
Did you
so
just
I add
say,
all of it.
hold on.
He did, honey. Just it's okay.
I'm glad that there's someone between the two of you right now because that
My
can get
heart
physical.
just dropped a
Hold it
little
back.
bit.
What'd I say?
That you
It's like
didn't
that
like
gif
the
of the lady
Flash.
It was not a pun. Slow. It was just real slow. So I went to Arrow, and that bored
Okay.
me, so I went to
I'm
Agents
just going to
of
stop you and
S.H.I.E.L.D.,
say you're wrong, but continue.
and that bored me.
So, just so you know, Kristen had the hearts previously for Mon-El, and now apparently for Steel.
For both.
Hillary,
No, I just
mean,
love
for
the
both.
Flash.
We should point out at this
But
point there are
also,
dating apps that you can
hearts,
put on your phone that might
Okay.
alleviate some of that problem
I
for
do
you.
like him, but he's not like he's Chris Evans or anything. I'm just
That got
What?
sad.
Aw.
I missed a side conversation.
Aw.
You'll have to listen to the episode.
Yes, yes. I'll say something
Touche.
here, though. The number of character descriptions we had to choose from for this is more than any show we've watched, and that is part of the problem with this show.
Yes.
Okay.
There's a lot
That's
of
a
characters.
great segue.
excellent segue. Elucidate, Spencer.
Well, I mean, the fact that you had to go through, 12 descriptions there for us to choose from?
Those
for
were all the
different-
regular characters.
And those
Yeah.
were the regulars. I mean, I know that they're paring it down, but we just heard that they're adding another main character now.
Yep.
So,
I mean,
It's
and they,
Convoluted.
and they devoted a lot of time to the Justice Society
Right.
side characters, too, on top of all these.
Yep.
and the problem is, even though you can associate with many of the characters and enjoy many of the characters, you only have about 40 minutes of screen per week. If you've got 13, 14, 15 characters to come in there, you can't tell a good story and involve everybody's favourite character every
Yeah.
week. And that's why we had the sloppy mess that was the
Yeah.
first half of this season.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's like you like the characters, but you don't. I don't feel as attached to them nearly as much as in the other DC shows.
Yeah. I mean, there are good pairings. There are good
Yeah.
pairings of characters
Yeah.
that I like, but there's no individual character development. It's
No.
too hard to do it in 40, 45 minutes.
I mean, honestly, the two best characters from the show have been Captain Cold and Heatwave, and their chemistry. And with Captain Cold gone for the first half of the season,
Which was a
And
terrible.
most of the second half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
but that was
I-
because of the
terrible
Prison
development.
Break commitment,
Well,
right?
which
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah, but still, I mean, I don't know. I just wish he could have done both because I felt like a big.
It was a huge
It was
hole.
lost.
And then
Yeah.
losing Rip Hunter
Rip
on
Hunter.
top of
Oh,
that,
that was
it was
horrible.
like
You can't lose two.
two of the most charismatic characters from
From
season one, which was weak because of the same problem of too many characters to try and get on the screen. It really derailed the first half of season two, and it took a long time for it to find
Yeah.
any kind of leg to stand on.
Well, and they took too long to really have the Legion of Doom together. It's like their highlight is their villains.
Yeah, they
and
kept,
they had
like,
these
promoting
great
that
actors as
part.
villains, and that's why they promoted it. And then they held them back and gave us a bunch of filler episodes.
And
Yeah.
some of the filler was okay, but some of it was
Yeah.
kind of boring a little bit.
I will
Well,
say the
especially
villains.
the first half.
The
Yeah.
villains were definitely the best part of this whole season.
Absolutely.
I mean, all three of them had, well,
They're just fun to watch.
two of them
together.
especially have just such great, powerful performance as far as engaging with John Barrowman and
Matt Letcher.
no, the other one, Neil McDonough.
Oh.
I find him fantastic.
I
as a
love
villain.
them together.
Matt Letcher falls just below the two of them,
He's-
but
I
still
feel
up there.
I feel like he was weaker in this than his
Yes.
performances
Than in
on
the
Flash.
Flash.
Yes, he was much better on The Flash.
Well, I think it's because they held him back, and they held back sort of the mystery of his existence for too long. So he was playing everything close to the vest, and that kind of hampered his performance a little bit. Because normally he was pretty scenery chewing in The Flash, and basically all the scenery chewing in this season for the villains came down to Merlin and
Yeah.
Dark.
But it still felt like he was more invested. I mean, obviously he's a Flash film, but he's more invested in the Flash than this. He was more detached. So you you didn't really feel like it was as important.
And it was more important, but it didn't
Exactly.
feel as important. And
Yeah,
that was
his
another part of the
storyline
problem.
was pretty big, but yeah, by the time you got to the end of it, it was just alright.
I agree. I found this whole season, the second half was definitely better, but the whole season was convoluted. There were episodes that engaged me, but not necessarily the larger season. I wanted to like it a lot, especially because the Legion of Doom was on it. And I think I have been stingier about my sort of affinity for Legends of Tomorrow than the rest of you. And I still feel like I'm there. I just didn't like this show as much.
No, it's still fourth place of the 4 shows to me.
To me as well. And Arrow's got a lot of problems, but I was still more engaged
The second
with
half,
Arrow.
I would have ranked this above this last season of Arrow, but then the second half of Arrow really picked up steam.
They
I
both
agree.
kind of
I
did.
don't know.
And then, then it pulled ahead of Legends.
I was gonna say I'll probably talk about it more when we get to Arrow, but they're kind of tight for me for the bottom, like Arrow and Legends the seasons, but for very different reasons. So I'll get into that more.
This did
later.
have one of my favourite episodes of all 4 shows of the season, though, which was the Star Wars explanation George Lucas episode. Was fantastic.
It was.
So
Yeah,
many
it was
little
very
Easter
good.
eggs,
Fun.
great storytelling, cleverly written.
Well,
If they could do that more often, this show would be
I
what
hate that
I expected.
You
it.
really? do?
That's like, see, to me that episode really like the whole premise and fun that you can have with time travel. That like those episodes like with the fun callbacks to things everybody knows in pop culture and that like those ones worked for me versus some of like the generic Japan stuff.
Right,
It's
like
much more clever.
the idea of wiping out the entire Star Wars universe was just hilarious.
Well, and the episode also did like the first pairing of Rey and Nate, which I think is the best pairing this season.
Yeah,
I agree
they're
with
good
that.
together.
I like those 2 characters together. I hated that the Atom lost his suit for as long as he did.
Yeah, that was-
I agree with
Yeah.
that. That was stupid.
Now, I
Gutted his
didn't.
whole character.
I
that
didn't
way.
Yeah.
mind how they brought them all back together, going through and finding them, and he was, stuck back in the prehistoric times, and he had like a name for the T-Rex and that kind of thing. Those were fun, but it just was just terribly disjointed.
Well, and it's in the context of Legends of Tomorrow, Ray Parker doesn't have any other identity but the suit. So-
Ray Parker or Ray Palmer?
Oh, what did I just say?
You said Ray Parker. I was
The
expecting
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters.
Ray Palmer.
Yeah.
Well, who are you going to call? Either way, one of them. But seriously, he's so synonymous with the suit in Legends of Tomorrow. He doesn't really stand on his own as a character. Even when you pair him in sort of the frat boy kind of, rivalry situation with Nate. I don't feel like he's got a lot going for him as himself.
Right.
Which
I like
is sad because I like Brandon.
his
I do
relationships though are pretty fun. Like his relationship with Mick Rory is fun.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't do that enough.
Because
They don't.
they're obviously so opposite. It's kind of fun to see.
But
that
they're at the
Yeah.
point where they
And
actually
Rory
care
calls
about
them
each other,
haircut.
but they won't admit it.
No,
Well, at least
exactly.
Mick won't.
Right. He would
Mick
never.
calls him haircut.
Yes.
Yes.
I love. That's probably one of the best nicknames this show has.
So why didn't you like the Star Wars episode, Nick? You said it. You got it.
Joy.
Do we enjoy?
Did you hate Indiana Jones too?
Do you hate the Lord of the Rings?
No,
Because J.R.R. Tolkien was a...
I'm not sure how I
That
feel
was
about
also
that
good.
either.
Yeah.
I don't.
That
Do you
episode
hate King
offended
Arthur?
me.
I think a big part of that for me.
I did
at
not
least-
like aspects of that episode.
I didn't like aspects of that episode either.
I agree, actually. King Arthur, they made him real.
The pop culture stuff though is always going to appeal to me.
Yeah.
Me too.
Especially if they do it well, which I really thought they did with the Star Wars episode. So, yes,
No, I
Nick,
like-
why did you hate it?
Just was
Because
like,
he has no heart.
Was it too
Yeah.
contrived for you?
I guess every time every time there was a line from Star Wars and that justified it, it just felt over the top for me.
But that's what this show is. It is over the
It
top.
is, but for some reason that went way. That one.
Crossed
Like the
Well,
trash
yeah.
compactor
Yeah.
scene was brilliant.
Was that too much like looking at the audience and like winking?
I think so. That's it. Yeah,
It made
I
you
didn't care
throw
for
up
it.
in your mouth a little bit.
A little bit.
Did you die
I also
inside?
don't love Star Wars, so there's that aspect.
Don't
Okay.
offend our
I'm-
audience. They're nerdy people.
I can have
Hey,
an
now,
opinion
don't say
about
nerdy
it.
people.
I'm a nerdy people.
I'm nerd.
Oh, I'm certainly a nerdy people, but I don't want to...
Whoa.
What are we talking about?
Star Wars and
Nick
Nick
hates
They're not
Gibson.
nerdy, they're mainstream
Didn't
challenge.
say hates.
They're mainstream.
You
Yeah,
kind of
I
did
like
say
that.
hate. You
said I
you
hated
kinda
that
hated
episode.
it. Okay. So you don't
Maybe
hate
it's
Star
So
Wars.
maybe the word hate was too strong?
Maybe.
I mean, I didn't like the Tolkien episode as much.
I also had issues with that, and I love Tolkien. And
you just go Jewish?
Yeah.
I did.
Was that in the first half of the season?
No, it's like the end.
later.
Tolkien helped
The
them
World War I
find the
episode.
Spear of Destiny.
Yeah.
They're trying to find
Thank
the
you.
blood, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Which
what,
is the Spirit of
Hilary's
Destiny.
big problem was that
Jesus'
they were
blood.
it
Yeah.
kind of take away from Tolkien in that they gave him all these ideas so
But that's what I
directly.
felt
They did the same with
with
the Star Wars episodes.
Like,
But
he couldn't
that's-
write any of the lines.
But they did
Not
the
that
same
that script
thing
was
with
written well.
with Back to the Future. Whenever there was an interaction with somebody that was from the future that had pop culture, the idea, like the whole
Okay, but
Jolly
also
Be Good.
that's like what
Jolly
happens.
Be Good was totally implanted by Marty McFly. It's
That's
just
true.
So what is
I
this
am
also?
the
They
box.
ripped off the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say because that also. I mean, it's not like time traveling, but the same kind of thing kind of happens in Forrest Gump, where like he influences
Yeah.
things in history.
It's a device that's.
So you're saying they ripped it off multiple times?
Yeah.
I mean, I would
It's
say
a device they kept using
Thing.
one
Which
time too many.
They are time traveling, but yes, all of the pop culture references. It's like they were trying too hard to get people excited with other fandoms, maybe.
That's where I was. 'Cause
Yes.
the
See
Star
that.
Wars one was the first one, so I thought that one was kind of clever. But then they kept going. Then it was King Arthur's Camelot. Then it was J.R.R. Tolkien.
And excuse me, isn't there ruby slippers and stuff at the end and stuff? Like, right?
Was it?
But
I
if
think
you
so.
do a time travel show and you're going to go back in this day and age, what are you going to reference? You're going to reference the pop culture that the kind of people watching your show are into. If you don't, and you just do straight historical events, it's not going to be as fun and fluffy that this universe is.
That's
outside
fine.
of Arrow.
I think they could have spread them out a little bit.
Oh, I
yeah,
agree with you
that,
there.
I think that's another...
It was
if
like
it
back
was a
to back
Star
to
Wars
back.
reference throughout the
Right.
season...
Because then it would be more of a
Yeah.
surprise, too. Instead, it was just... Then it kind of became, well, I agree. It kind of... I mean, I was okay with Star Wars at first, too. But then it continued on and it added to that cheesy factor.
And personally, my
Which is
favorite
fine,
episode of the whole season was the one that focused exclusively on the Legion of Doom and their robbery
Yes.
caper. That had nothing to do with pop culture and very little to do with the
See,
legends.
I love
So-
1980s Miami Vice, Damien Dark.
Yes.
That was
Yes.
brilliant. That was really fun.
So badass.
I love how they just even started the episode with the Legion of Doom doing the opening.
Mm-hmm.
It just puts you right into it.
It was basically an entire episode of Matt, Neil, and John. So
Well,
I
and you can see
appreciated
their
that.
camaraderie playing
Yeah.
through because they're friends outside of the show, so you can see that
The
playfulness.
chemistry and
Yeah.
And I think it's nice to just focus on 3 characters.
Yeah,
Right.
that
Get a-
versus
going
12.
back to what we started
Yeah.
with.
And
Yeah.
what I thought was interesting about that too is because like in each of their seasons where they're the villain, like they're just straight evil. But then when you pair them together, you can see like the different grades of evil. Like Malcolm Merlin, who's just he's not evil at all. He's just doing what he thinks is best for him.
He's
Very
got
practical
a,
to a fault.
deviated
Yes.
moral compass.
Yes, and then like Damien Dark above that, and then
Hillary!
I was actually thinking in my head how much I love John Barrowman because I just
Me
do.
too.
Yeah.
But in a different way. Yes.
He's pretty sexy, even though he likes the boys.
I
I
give
think
you that.
he is.
Yeah.
I think he is. But I like him as Malcolm Merlin.
Yes.
I like him
Does
as
that
Malcolm
I
Merlin.
think he
too.
does that character very, very, very well.
Very well.
So what do we think about the overarching story that was being told here? Was sort of the idea that they were trying to put together pieces of the Spear of Destiny. The Legion of Doom was, because they wanted to change their fates. We find out Reverse Flash is a time remnant who's trying to exist. Damien Dark wants to
Yeah.
survive because he dies. And Malcolm Merlin wants to, I guess, just change some power and maybe
wants to
bring
have
his son
control.
back and
He
have
wants
He
to have
wa- yeah, he
control.
wants to have control.
all of that stuff. So
And they both think, because at the end they kind of think that Ubard's kind of like taking them for granted, right?
Well, they realise
Yeah.
that he's using
Yeah.
them as a device
So
to
they
get
kind of
what he
team up
wants.
against a little bit against him too.
yeah, that's all part of that caper episode.
yeah,
That's why I liked it. There was a lot of politics going on.
yeah.
What did you think about the overarching story, though? To the extent that it was a thread that ran through all episodes, which wasn't always the case.
I mean, I just liked it more towards the end,
Yeah.
but like we were saying, there's a lot of like pointless filler stuff.
yeah, there's too
Yeah.
much back and forth of we have a piece of the spear and then we lose that piece again. They did that like one
A
or two
lot.
times too many.
Yeah.
And they had we've got this actress over here playing this character, we've got to get her into this episode because she hasn't done anything yet, and you could feel that.
And
It
then
just-
they had to add in the romance, so there was the sexy times with Steel and Vixen.
He was like about to die.
Oh, come on.
I hated it.
I didn't love it either, just because I thought it was ham-fisted in there, and they took way too long explaining who Vixen was and how she came in.
True,
Yeah,
but
that's
it's still,
true.
to me, more watchable than Hawkman and
Oh,
Hawkgirl.
God, I didn't think
Okay, I
Watch
grant
that.
you that. But we're talking about the bottom rung, and maybe a couple rungs over that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could have put cardboard cutouts instead of the Hawks, and it would have been more
Yeah.
interesting.
And on this show, they were better on other shows.
Yeah, I mean, because for the longest time, I thought the Vixen in Legends was the same Vixen that we saw in Arrow, and it's not. They're related, but it's not the same.
Yeah, Vixen on
Superhero.
Legends is grandma to Vixen in the cartoon / Vixen on Arrow.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Same actress?
nope.
No.
Different actress.
I mean,
The actress on Arrow / the cartoon played Angie on that 70s show. This person appeared
Did she really?
She did. This person appeared in the originals and some other CW stuff.
Thank you, Wikipedia.
I'm here, please. But they took way too long explaining Vixen, and that really annoyed me, because I was like, who the hell is she? She's not part of the Justice Society of America.
They took way too long on lots of things.
Yeah.
What's it?
It just...
I didn't, yeah.
I get confused. On
It's
the
a
whole-
fun show. I will continue to watch it, but it has these... too many characters. There's just too many... Too
There's
many
too
people
many.
to fill
Well,
in.
like when Rip came back in too, it was like that alter ego Rip thing.
Brainwashed, right?
Brainwashed Rip. That was so lame.
He wasn't even good.
Dragged that out.
Yeah, and then he was trying to be American.
Oh, that was awful.
That was
Yeah,
really
sorry, Arthur, you can't do one.
Yeah.
Well, neither can David Tennant.
That's true, but, you know...
When both of them tried to do
But
American
overall-
accents, you could see they were focusing
Okay.
on trying the accent and
But
not
you
acting.
really cannot compare Arthur Darvill to David Tennant.
No.
I'm sorry.
Agreed.
I
No.
mean, he just did.
Ladies,
but he
we're not
was
talking
wrong.
sexy time. We're talking about how
No.
when they tried to do the
Okay,
American
I'll
accent,
still
they
take
lost
it.
their
Well,
acting.
seriously though, Spencer, as an actor, don't you think David Tennant is a better actor?
Oh, by far.
Well, then there you go.
But he was comparing their abilities.
I was
at a
comparing their
specific
abilities
skill.
to doing American accents and focusing on the accent and losing the acting,
I know.
which they both
My
did.
point is that just doesn't even matter at this point.
I
It's David
Oh my
Tennant.
god.
Well, I still
Yeah,
think
when
that
it's not logical.
You can't win the argument when the logic is flawed on the other side of it, right?
I still think Arthur's
Boys.
attempt was probably a little bit more slapdash than David's, at least because in this particular scenario...
It was just more campy.
It was more campy, so
But it just felt like
came
he was
off-
handcuffed. His
Forced
character was
again?
completely taken away from him.
Yeah.
Well, and that's probably my biggest criticism on the season is Rip was kind of the cornerstone around which all these legends...
I wasn't ready for White Canary to be the captain. I'm just gonna say.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I didn't like it.
Me either.
I don't...
I like
I'm-
her.
I didn't
know.
hate it, but I didn't think
I didn't
it was
love
great.
it. Yeah.
I feel like
She's
they
so-
have a lot of moments, and like her and Jax have a couple, where they talk about how difficult it is to be the captain, but you don't ever see these difficult
Yeah.
moments. And like, it's time to stand up and bring the team together. And I feel like we don't
You
even
guys
see
are a year and a half in, and you keep coming back together from all kinds of different stretches of time, and you're not together.
Yeah.
It's a very weird ensemble. I mean, the one that I'm consistently interested in is Mick Rory.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mick Rory's
Yeah.
by far the most
Yeah,
engaging
me too.
character
But so
outside
is
of
Cole.
Captain Cold.
Yeah.
Because
Who
Captain
wasn't
Cold
even
wasn't
on
in
this-
this season.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was in a couple episodes, and
Well,
frankly,
even-
by
But the
the
ones you
time
were-
he showed up, it was anticlimactic.
Yeah, it was.
But I was gonna say, even like Mick's like guilt hallucination of Captain Cold was still better than a lot of the other things that was happening.
Well, here's the
Yep.
funny thing about that. His hallucination of Captain Cold was better than the iteration of Captain Cold we got in the
They
second
lost
half of
the
the
shades.
season.
They lost the shades
Right.
of his character.
He was completely one side of the spectrum,
Yeah.
whereas Captain Cold through The Flash and through season 1 was not.
Yeah, even in his
That-
first episode
but-
on Flash, he still had more shades of him to
Grey.
then.
Yeah.
That's because he was from the past before that.
But it still had he had his cold gun in his gear, so it had to have been
Yeah, it
after
was-
his first episode.
it-
They
it-
made him more evil.
He'd gone completely to the evil side without any of that self-serving balance that Captain Cold has.
But most of the time that we know Leonard Snart, he is that shade of gray. That's the whole kind of fulcrum around the Captain Cold character. He switches sides in the comics.
He's
switches
Italy.
Sides.
Yeah.
So it's like, at this point, he was very cookie cutter and flat by the time he showed up.
And that's why I liked the Mick Rory's imagination of him better than what we
Yeah.
actually got for the Captain Cold that came back.
Exactly. And he just didn't play as well off the other three Legion.
No, now it's like I was so excited to see all four of them together, and then when he came back in, I was like,
No,
he didn't really add as much as I thought he would have.
He didn't. And
It's because you were missing the relationship with him and Mick.
You
just
were.
wasn't
Well,
that
and
backwards and
wasn't the
forwards,
same.
that chemistry.
there was also a lot of possibility that if maybe they had more time, maybe part of it was Wentworth Miller's schedule. I mean, Reverse Flash and Captain Cold. Those are the two of the best Flash villains, and definitely two on the actual show. And putting them together in like more scenes, just the two of them, would have been interesting, but they didn't have that. So,
Which I would also just like them to come back and make appearances on the Flash.
Yeah.
But that's a whole
Yeah.
separate issue.
yeah, especially for Reverse Flash. I mean, I guess they can just keep picking them out of time.
It's the beauty of having a universe where time is messed
Flexible.
about in.
That's
Yeah.
true.
You
And
can
many,
always bring
many
someone
Earths.
back. You don't need a Lazarus Pit anymore because you
No,
have the
yeah.
Legends of Tomorrow and the Flash.
And the multiverse.
Yeah.
At least
That's
that's
true.
less lame than the Lazarus Pit.
Less lame?
Yes,
I
less-
agree.
Yeah, the Lazarus Pit was. I mean, now the
Yeah.
Lazarus Pit has crossed over into Gotham. I'm like, oh damn
Oh,
it!
yeah, we just got away from that.
Yeah. Ah! Somebody went into the wrong props closet.
I'm really glad I don't watch Gotham now. I don't want to see the Lazarus Pit again.
You would be frustrated.
It wasn't even
Yeah.
as good of as Lazarus Pit. It was like the low budget Lazarus Pit.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Yeah.
I'll take your word for it.
Ask Kristen. She
Because
can
we're
only
going
be
to see how the
rhetorical.
Lazarus Pit transforms into the Lazarus Pit we know. Like Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
It has an arc across the shows.
New on the CW, the Lazarus Pit.
So some of the other
Starring
standalone,
Water.
some of the other standalone episodes involved, for example, the American Revolution, with Mick having a philosophical discussion with our nation's founding father.
Yeah. So about
Nick's
that
statue.
campiness.
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed that
I
episode
like
a
I
lot.
like
That
the
was
statue
funny.
of Mick. At the
Yeah.
I
end.
liked
Yeah.
the statue of Mick. I
mean-
liked where it went, but I was like,
It's
Is that
meant
the
to
one
be
with
funny.
zombies? Is that the one with
Yeah.
It
zombies?
was, yeah,
It's
there were
meant-
zombies and
Yeah.
It was
zombies
out
in the
there.
American Revolution.
it was fun.
It's meant
It
to
was
be
just
yeah, it's
fun.
meant to be full of corn. So
It was
it's fine.
a little too cheesy corn for me. Just saying. And then there was the Apollo 13 episode where Reverse Flash insinuates himself in Jack Swigert place.
That's right.
That would be terrifying.
Yeah.
But then they ended up they actually crashed on the moon, and then the Atom and Reverse Flash, Ray and
See,
Neil
I
had to
like
work
this.
together.
I like their scenes together because then you realize Reverse Flash is desperate.
Yes.
Like he's not his malicious self. Like he just wants to exist.
I actually liked the Apollo 13 episode. Even
Yeah, I
though
don't
was
mind
like,
that episode.
this is a tragic. Well, it ended up successful, but a space accident that they made light of. But it's still good.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
enjoyed.
too soon.
Too soon, 30, 40.
I enjoyed when they worked out that Reverse Flash could only stay in a certain place for a certain amount of time, and once that got worked out, that made for some fun interchanges
Yeah,
throughout
it
the
did.
second half of the season.
Well, and I like those two characters were so intelligent, so they kind of bounced off that way. But I also like the button on that one, because all throughout the season, Steel, as he starts to realize his feelings for Vixen, wants to sort of, and also kind of dealing with his feelings with his dad and his granddad via that, because he was commander or captain, whatever rank Steel he was. Commander, yes. He was trying to work out, basically change history and make his family life better, but also make it justifiable that he could be with Vixen, although maybe granddaughter Vixen is descended from him.
Which it's not. Because he sent Vixen back at the end, didn't he?
No, she
No,
changed her mind.
she
They
changed
both
her
changed
mind.
and ran off together.
Awkward.
She's still...
I was too focused on the gloriousness that is Steel to really pay attention to what else.
Something about good.
And we didn't mention it, but I really
I
like.
still,
Oh, no.
but it was kind of. I still thought it was funny.
It was supposed to be done.
I know, and it got me, damn it. What were you saying?
I don't remember. Maybe it was him.
The Jonah
Hi.
Hex episode because I love that character.
That character's
yeah.
good.
Although
Yeah.
from this first season, the highlight of the Jonah Hex episode from the first season was his interaction with Rip and how he filled in Rip's character. And then Rip wasn't in the season yet at that point for this episode, which felt like it would have been better served with Rip. But I love the character of Jonah Hex, and they
Yeah,
actually
he does
had
a
his
good job.
main villain of Quentin Turnbull in it. So it was a way better in it because there's a really bad Jonah Hex movie, which shouldn't be mentioned, but this is so much better.
But yet you do.
Yeah, didn't you make me see that in the theater? I'm pretty sure you did.
No, I did not.
Well, you
The
made
movie
me see
looked
it.
bad.
You made me watch it at some
Yeah,
point.
for free.
I think Jonah Hex was probably one of the best episodes of the first season.
It
So
was.
seeing him come
It
back,
was.
I really enjoyed.
That was probably the highlight of the first half of this season, was the Jonah Hex episode. And they really need to kind of find a way to bring him, well, I don't know, maybe
They
there's
want to
too many
add him to the
characters.
cast, but
I just
How
think
can
they
they at this point?
They-
chop off some of the other
That
useless
ship is
characters.
so full. How can it bear all the
It only
people?
has like what,
Jax.
8, 9 seats?
Get rid of Jax.
But then
Yeah, but then what happens with Stein?
We just need Victor Garber. When they barely ever
Yeah.
do any firestorming. They're always separated randomly.
It's
Well,
because the
they
special
barely
effects
did
is too
any Victor
expensive.
Yeah.
Garber this season, to be quite honest, except for the storyline with
With
his
his daughter,
daughter.
which was,
Well,
that
he
was-
made a beautiful crossover onto the Flash and Supergirl.
He did,
And he
but
sang,
that
yeah.
is for those chapters.
I know, but you know he was busy doing that. So
Not that busy.
Well, the
It's in an episode
That-
of
that-
the Orville.
yeah, he just had all the moral issues with the daughter.
Which were,
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it's like
I feel like they're changing history a little too much.
So
They-
that's
a
an
little?
excellent
They
segue.
didn't yeah, because I don't feel like they changed history as much in the other shows.
They
Like it
have
doesn't
not.
affect-
well,
Or it didn't
what's
affect
bothering
it.
me about it is
Yeah.
you're not seeing the ripple effect into
Who?
Arrow and into.
yeah,
Has that confirmed?
We didn't from the
Yeah.
first season see a ton of it, which there were definitely
no, the
areas where they
only real
diddled.
change that we saw was the sex of Diggle's baby
Yeah.
changed.
And
That was-
just
that was
very-
Flash-
That was
Flashpoint.
bad.
That was
Flashpoint.
very-
Yeah, that wasn't even.
But that's
Legends.
it. That's
We
all.
haven't seen anything from Legends.
No.
really.
Yeah, so to set this up, essentially the legends encounter each other. They have to go back to World War I and try to get the Spear of Destiny from themselves, which is a big no-no. They're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then they do.
Doc Brown
You
will
can't
tell you
interfere
that.
with your own timeline.
Yes, but they did, and they
And so
ended
with
up.
the doctor.
They did this whole thing, and
Doctor's
Sarah
minds
had to
blown.
use it, and she dreamt of Laurel, and Laurel said, "You'll do the right thing," essentially. And anyway, they defeat Reverse Flash. There was thousands of his time.
Oh yeah,
remnants.
that's right. Laurel was there.
Yes, Laurel was there. She came there for a minute. But the moral of the whole thing was they changed history so much because they encountered
broke
each
it.
themselves. They broke it.
Yes, that the last episode
really fail at
finished
their
with
job.
dinosaurs in a space-age New York or something.
In
Space
2016.
In
Yeah.
LA, I think,
Which
wasn't
I
it?
feel like in the
Oh,
next,
yeah.
I feel like in the season
Yeah.
premiere they're gonna wipe that under the rug in like the first 5 minutes or something.
Right.
Like, that just feels like what the show's gonna do. Like they're gonna launch off on some random other team.
I think they're gonna just do a whole separate storyline and not even acknowledge it.
And that's my
gonna
problem with it.
acknowledge
That
it.
bothers me
They
because this
won't.
is a universe, and it seems to me that it would affect Star City, Central City. Not necessarily Supergirl. She's 23 Earths away, but
Yeah.
It should have an effect throughout the Arrowverse, and I'm not sure. Maybe that's how they solved the Yang Yu problem on Arrow, though, is that the Legends messed it all up, so everyone's still around. They're just now having to fight dinosaurs in New York in 2016.
maybe. But we did all these awesome speculations last year about what Flashpoint might do.
Yeah, it was very disappointing.
I know.
Maybe. That was it.
So I don't.
Your daughter was actually a boy before.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Oops.
No, son now, daughter before.
That's right.
Yeah.
Eh.
Strike it, reverse it.
Your baby's gender neutral, basically, is what we're saying.
Very progressive. So,
Or sarcastic.
Are we sure that the
More likely sarcastic.
one way
Spencer,
that
I've met you.
yeah. One way that they could kind of wipe it under the rug is if this happened on a different Earth and it wasn't the Arrowverse Earth.
Like they traveled to a different
A different
Earth.
Earth. Yeah, I don't know. That's the only thing I can think
But
of.
I don't
I
think they
hope
can
so.
travel
That's a mess.
dimensionally. I think they only travel time.
Unless you argue that when they created a new Earth with the spear that the Legion of
Possible.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Good logic.
I like that. At least
like
that would
it.
be a
You're
nice
good
answer.
at coming up with future things.
As long as
That would
they're
be a good
stuck
answer.
there for a while,
Yeah.
so then they don't have to deal with it rippling into Flash
Other
and Arrow.
universes.
And as
But
long
it's
as
one of
they
these-
explain the non-rippling into the other shows, because that's my problem. You create a universe, but yet things don't always cross over. What? I don't get it.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it crossed over more with Supergirl.
Yeah.
She is in a different Earth.
I agree.
Which part? Crossover more with Supergirl.
Flash and Arrow, like those.
He's just
worlds
saying from the
touch
past,
more.
not
Yeah, they
this-
touch
not,
more
not,
than the
not in a
Legends touch onto
specific
those
season.
shows.
Right.
Just there's been more connection with everything else than there really has with these people.
Yeah.
That's true.
My sense is they're just playing it safe with Legends and with what they're solidifying with their actions. So they can undo anything by traveling through time. So they don't want to mention it in one of the other shows.
They can just keep track of their own, like, I know they're time traveling and whatnot, but they could still just keep track of their own continuity. That would be a thing.
That's my thing. This show's a mess.
It doesn't seem like they're trying.
No.
They're
It feels like this is the forgotten brother of
With
the
everything
four.
that they've done at this point, there's no way they can go back and fix it all.
They won't be able to fix it. I just think that they could course correct maybe and try to be a little more to the point. Not, I don't know. Less convoluted.
Like pick some cast members to like stick
Chop.
with more and
Get rid of some others that don't
Trim the fat a little bit.
Yes,
Honestly, I would say goodbye to Nate and Vixen.
me too.
Yeah.
Have them actually
No, I
run
know. I
off
feel
and
the same
settle
way.
You
down
got the
somewhere.
internet, so you
Yeah.
can just
They were
Yeah.
fun characters,
Check
but
them out.
it just. Ugh.
Well, and I don't know if you caught this, but Arthur Darvill is not going to be a regular cast member next season. He's being dropped to a recurring.
Which that's
Why?
is he doing something else,
I'm not
or
sure.
are they just really
It's his-
sticking
I
with
think
the
it's
Sarah
his,
thing?
his storyline in this season is he's restarting the Time Masters, so he's off doing his own thing, and then he's going to come in.
I mean, yeah, they're just happy he's not dead or something. Like, but I don't know.
And it could be maybe he's got other commitments or he wants to seek other commitments. He's kind of like that in real life. So
He may not actually see this show as that long of a future too, which if the third season is like the first two seasons,
It may not.
it may not. Although the CW, if you get a 1.2 rating, you're staying. So
well, and they can market this one off the universe. They're introducing another show that they're not connecting to the universe.
and now once you
so-
get through 3 seasons, you get syndication on Netflix. So and they've already got Netflix on it, and Netflix is decent money for them.
Well, yeah, Netflix has the exclusive streaming contract with CW. No other streamer can.
Yeah.
why
do
is the
CW
new
shows.
show not part of the Arrowverse?
I don't
Nobody
know.
knows. It makes no sense.
What new show?
Black Lightning.
Lightning.
The only way would be
yeah.
if it was set in a different time, but even then, Legends kind of fixes that problem.
If it was set in
yeah,
a
they
different
just-
Earth, that's the Supergirl situation. So I don't get why it's not connected.
So is that just
That's really
Warner
annoying to
Brothers
me.
being weird?
It
again?
knows the creator.
Oh, he
Greg
doesn't want to be a part
Greg
of this.
Berlanti or whatever.
Executive
He doesn't
producer.
want it. He just doesn't want it connected to the other shows. But
And in all seriousness, he could be actually starting to see the problem of, well, every time we add another show to the universe, we add another show to the crossover, and we've only got 40 minutes to do an episode, and we've
But
already
they-
got problems.
I hope they learned that when they do a crossover, just these two shows are going to cross over right now.
Yeah, don't
'Cause
try and cross
before-
over the entire four. That was terrible.
So the big plan for the crossover this coming season is that 2 shows will cross over with each other and 2 shows will cross over with each other, and it's going to be like a feature length as opposed to 1 hour, 1 hour, 1 hour, 1 hour.
That
It was
sounds
1
better.
hour, 1 hour, 1 hour.
And they
5
keep
minutes.
saying someone's going to
Yeah.
die. That keeps being in the promo.
See,
Which is
I've
real
avoided all
funny.
of
But
those.
it could be
Because-
anyone. Who cares?
Exactly.
How many people have died so far?
Maybe
Right.
that's how they're going to shrink the Legends down.
But nobody's ever really dead.
No, Katie Cassidy's back. Black Siren's going to be on Arrow as a villain.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, so
Like,
She was
permanently.
actually better as a villain than she was as Black Canary anyway.
Yeah, I like her better as
Different podcast.
Black Siren.
it is a
oh,
different
we're talking about
podcast.
the world.
I'm just kidding. I knew she was going to say it.
Although
I
we
was just
did learn John Constantine is in Legends next season, so I'm looking forward to that.
Maybe he'll come and fix it with some spells. So
Well, he's just fun.
Well, he's more charismatic than like any of the other actors.
did he have a
so-
show? That
Yeah.
could-
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
on
it's
It's
NBC.
not part of the universe?
It was on NBC.
It wasn't part
NBC
they were
dropped
gonna,
it right away.
They were going to cross Arrow over onto it across
Network.
networks, and then it got canceled.
NBC dropped
Like
it
that's
right
how
away.
season 2 was going to start, and
They
then it
didn't
got
give
canceled.
it. They didn't give it a fighting chance.
No, they did what Fox does, where they moved what night it was on, like every week.
And so, but NBC
well, the
kind
writing
of
was
does that anyway.
kind of
NBC
poor
does do
early
that.
on in the season. I did watch.
Yeah, the first
No.
like 4 episodes were weak, but they got really
They found their
strong.
niche.
His charisma will nicely replace Rip's
Yes.
charisma, so
Yeah.
there is some hope for that.
As
And-
long as they let him do more than one.
That's
Well,
what I'm
didn't you
worried
say
about.
Son was a series regular though?
Or
they're
just,
being coy about it.
Ah.
They want him to be a series regular, but they're not saying what capacity.
What the
he's
hell
doing.
else is he doing right now?
Well, he's actually doing a lot of John Constantine, their animated movies. He plays John Constantine in
Like,
that.
he really enjoys it.
And he's
doesn't
John
he?
Constantine in any of the DC video games. Like, he is like
So
fully
he is
committed.
this character.
Yeah.
He should buy the rights to the character himself.
What do we think about this season having less episodes?
I think it's
Better.
Better, but
Because
even with the lesson episodes,
It's
there were
still
still like
many.
3 or 4 filler episodes.
Like, there were literally a couple episodes where I mean, there were times where I could literally leave the room and still basically knew what happened because it was that
I think
that
it should
unimportant.
drop to 10.
Wow. I just
Until they tighten it up, yeah, I agree.
It's-
like, less
yeah, it's so
episodes
good.
usually means a better cohesive story,
if
and
you make
it's
each
the
episode
opposite
more
of the others.
movie-like and less jokey, like pointless. Oh, we're just writing this one off this week. It would work so much better.
Yeah.
Or you can leave the jokey campy, but just build it into something that's a little bit more structured.
Have a deeper
Yeah.
structured story, which it just did not have.
No.
At least not until the second
I just
half of this
hope-
season.
yeah, I just hope that they're not doing it like that because they're kind of like, I don't want to say like condescending to their audience. Maybe they don't realize all the different age groups and different types of people that might like it. I don't know. Maybe they just feel like it won't matter because people will just watch it anyway.
This show of the 4 fits the least tonally. Like,
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
But that's
just
what I'm
a
saying.
fun,
They're just like
almost
I don't know.
cartoon.
Yeah.
I almost
But they're
feel
treating it not. I mean, you can do fun cartoons well and entertaining.
Yeah.
And
I almost feel like this show is
Yeah.
the result of them being the victims of their own success with the others. It's like, okay, we want you to do another show. Okay, how can
They
we
got
do that?
high
And
on
then-
it.
Yeah, and
I also
Because they
think
were
that-
like, oh, we have all these side characters now, and we don't really
We already
necessarily have a
built-in
place.
cast.
Yeah, we don't have a place
it's
to
the
put them right
cast-offs
now.
show.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like it's also a holding area because we're not completely done with this
them.
character, but we
So we
want
could
to want to
pluck 'em.
hold on to the actor.
Yeah.
So
We don't
we'll
need to
give them
forget-
more to do and have a contract.
We don't want the same thing that happened with Tommy Merlin, where we have to reference him in a meta joke
And
in
I
an
miss
episode.
him. I miss him all the time.
Well, he does have another commitment. Or did, anyway.
He still goes to Comic-Con and everything, stuff like that, because of his, short appearance with Arrow. So
It's true. But I agree with the cat. I mean, I've felt like that since the beginning watching this show, that this is kind of the cast-off.
Well, I told you
Yeah.
because I didn't know DC in my first one in DC, that the Legion of Doom just felt like we were picking up the scraps. Because I didn't know the Legion of Doom was anything. I just thought, oh, well, here's 3 actors we're going to pull.
The
But that's how
Legion
it
of
felt
Doom
the first-
actually has roots and things.
Right, but it doesn't feel like that if you don't know that from the first couple episodes of the season.
They were
At least
still
for
the
me.
best part. So how do we feel about the cliffhanger?
Well, we talked about that.
It's about as campy as you could have got.
Yeah. The CGI wasn't that great either.
Let me rephrase. Where do you think they're going to go for the cliffhanger?
I think they're going to introduce John Constantine.
Kyle
Other than John Constantine casting spells.
They're going to go on a Club 1830 cruise.
Well, they tried to go to Jamaica and they ended up where they ended up. Or Aruba. I'm sorry, Aruba. That was the thing.
I think Mick will end up in Aruba somehow.
I hope so, man. I'm rooting for him.
And he's going to start a bar fight.
Well,
With his fire gun.
Honestly, the way that this show has been,
You can't predict it.
you can't. They could, like Hilary said earlier, they could completely gloss over the whole dinosaurs in 2016 in LA with spaceships.
beyond Legends, how do you think the Arrowverse is being managed?
It's getting a little rocky for me. The Flash is the only show that's really kind of staying fairly solid.
I mean, Supergirl season 2 was better than Supergirl
I
season
still
1.
like
Agreed.
Supergirl. I still
I
like
do.
the
I like
Flash and
Supergirl.
Supergirl. Like when we get to Arrow, I'll talk about still my issues with Arrow. But yeah, for me, like right now, the order still is the Flash, Supergirl, and then right now, Arrow and Legends are tied for the bottom.
Yeah.
Arrow was better in this last season than it was the season.
I
I will
I
talk
feel like
about
it's
this
back on
later.
an upswing.
I will talk about this later.
Yeah.
But there are I have issues with Arrow still.
But the question was, how do we feel about the Arrowverse as a whole? And
Yeah, so
It's real disappointing that the new show isn't going to be a part of it.
I agree.
Do we have to cover it?
No, as long as it's not part of the universe. No, we
I'm
can
actually quite
still.
relieved.
Yeah.
It will not be part of the assignment, but CPU did pick it up, so it could be a podcast candidate later. If
I mean,
you want.
let me
I'm going to give it a try in that hopes that it
That it
connects
works.
eventually.
Yeah.
Because I don't know anything about that character.
He's not one of their more interesting
No.
characters.
So him not
It's
being
kind
part of the universe is
yeah.
hard
And
to...
it could be that they've been given the option, the chance to pick it up and do this other show, but they realise it's not that interesting of a character and they don't think it's going to last.
Yeah,
I think they're just trying to have a DC answer to like Luke Cage, and plus, aren't they bringing Black Panther into the?
They
Black
already
Panther
have.
already
So
is.
there you go.
Yeah.
I think they're just answering that. That's their equivalent.
Same reason they added Cyborg to the Justice League.
Yep.
even though it's
Instead
never
of
been a
Green
member.
Lantern.
They would have been better off doing a Static Shock show rather than...
Yeah.
That's a kind of a fun character.
Let me put it to you this way: when we originally, because like we were trying to get you to start on the DC, not that you wouldn't have, but we were like, oh yeah, you really need to start watching these right away. Now, I mean, yes, the original season, like with Arrow and the Flash and all those, they're still amazing. When I go back and watch them, I still really enjoy them, especially the Flash, of course. But now it's a little more lukewarm with my feelings. I wouldn't necessarily go up to somebody that I talk to about TV shows where I'd be like, oh man, you really got to get caught up on these shows, as opposed to some of the other options, maybe.
I would agree.
Yeah, I'm right there too.
I'd be okay with recommending The Flash still and saying,
Yeah.
you should
Yeah.
really watch this
Yeah.
one. Arrow I still enjoy, but it's had some issues, and I'm hoping that those are going to work themselves out now with Deathstroke coming back, etc.
Yes, that was amazing.
Legends is a sloppy mess in a tumble
Yeah.
dryer that has such great potential, but for some reason they do
They
not
can't
seem
sort
to
it
be
out.
able to...
Yeah.
You like his analogies?
Yes, I love them.
Do y'all feel the Netflix Marvel universe is being handled better?
Yes.
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 Yes, but some of their storytelling is pretty poor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a show by show for me
Yeah.
between the two universes. I do
Yeah.
think that I think that they have built the universe better over on Marvel. But that's because Marvel's been doing that anyway.
Yeah.
I just think they have it better down.
Their
you know?
universe is better. They've pulled in some really incredible actors, but some of their...
And they had the right people from the start.
Well, and
Yeah.
Marvel, their budget per episode is like
better.
astronomical.
Yeah,
But some of their
the
episodes
DCs
are
are
so
on the CW.
slow.
They're not budgetarily as equal at all.
Well, I don't even think you need a fancy budget as long as
You just
like,
need- you
the
need good
story.
writing.
Yeah, the story's there and the acting's there and all that jazz. I'm fine with everything else as long as that's there.
The artistic side of the Marvel universe is far superior.
Yes.
Yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely.
But I do think if I were to look at it show by show, I'm still much more excited, personally me, to watch The Flash than I am to watch any individual Defenders series. Even though, and that will be for our Flash podcast, Season 3 maybe wasn't quite what Season 1 and 2 were. It's still a very exciting show that I'm like, I can't wait to watch The Flash. Whereas Legends of Tomorrow, every time I got to an episode of this, I was like, oh.
Yeah, it's every time I turn it on, it's like, oh, I hope this is better than last week's.
Yeah, exactly. And Arrow does have problems. I will gladly admit it, but there are some still good points to Arrow that don't leave me going, ugh, whereas Legends does.
Every time Adrian came on screen in Arrow, I was like,
That's for the Arrow podcast. Prometheus is a highly divisive character. I've been reading the comment forums. There are people that love him and people that hate him and not a lot in between.
And like for a lot of comic book fans, they should have just not named him Prometheus, because Prometheus' character in the comics is very different and a lot more interesting.
Yeah.
But that's for the next spot.
That's
Yeah.
for Arrow
That's for the
podcast.
Prometheus podcast.
Which really, in a lot of ways, means we've run out of things to talk about on Legends.
Yeah,
That's
if
true.
we're already trying to jump to other shows. So
So does everybody rate Legends as number 4? Except for your
it's,
tie.
Yeah,
it's
it's
tied.
tied.
Arrow and Legends are so
I
tied.
would have.
Arrow is far
I-
superior to Legends.
If
I agree with
the
you.
Yeah.
season of Arrow was, I really
Maybe you'll
struggled
If it was
watching.
the first half of Arrow, I would
'cause
have ranked Legends above it personally. But then the second half was much better for me. So then Arrow kind of somewhat
Maybe
redeemed
you'll,
itself.
when
that's-
you hear the points against it, maybe it'll change. I mean, he's got like a love affair thing. I just and you love you love Deathstroke and all that, and she does the hearts for Steven. That's what it is for her.
Yeah.
Well, maybe
Not
it's for you
just
too.
No,
that.
it's not.
not just that.
Yeah.
That is a very healthy bonus in the election.
It's just, Arrow was the show that brought us into this universe.
Correct.
That's absolutely
And
true.
there are still elements of that original there.
Correct.
And there's still a whether the storyline for the season was good or not, there is still a strong arcing storyline throughout the entire season, whether you enjoy the story or not, as opposed to Legends,
which is slapdashery at its finest.
It's like picking letters out of a Scrabble bag.
Yeah. Arrow's problem is they lock themselves into the stupid flashback thing. That's its biggest weakness for me.
Well, just
they have to
stop
tell two
doing
different.
it.
It's like they're telling two different.
Also, it's the same story they've had every single season, but
That-
we can get into that more later.
That's why Legends is just a fun show, and it's a bad episode. I can write it off easily. Arrow, it hurts when it's bad.
Yeah, it does.
So I'm leaning towards that being my number 4.
So it sounds like our expectations are higher for Arrow than they are for Legends.
That's fair.
That is.
You know
but
what?
that is fair.
You
Once
know
we
what?
get to Legends Season 5,
That's a fair statement, and maybe that's where my problems have been from the get-go. But I think I did say that in my like when we did the individual things, that it's like I felt extremely sad to say that it had fallen so low on my list because of where it began.
And I think the ranking is different if it's Legends Arrow or Legends Season 2 Arrow Season 5. Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
That's Legend Arrow Season 5 is worse than Legend Season 2 for me.
Interesting. Do we think we'll see the Legion again?
Probably.
Yeah.
would
I mean, I hope so.
Or at least members of them.
Yeah.
But I hope they kind of get back together, otherwise that would, I don't know, at least at some point.
I hope so too. Although apparently there was some controversy there and Mr. Barrowman opened his big mouth. So I don't know.
Yeah, my understanding was Barrowman's done with the Arrowverse.
Well,
That was the official line.
He was
and then
told
they said,
he tends to get a little feisty on the social medias.
And also at Comic-Con, which he goes to many of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
So,
slips up.
What happened?
He is coming. They originally announced that was his official death and that he was done.
and he told, and he
then
was
he
telling
slipped
everybody.
that they're coming back. They
But
invited
he
him
really
back.
didn't. But he really didn't realize. Like he really thought he was dead. So he was telling everybody on all the social medias, at Comic-Con appearances and other things that he's like, yeah. And then I think he said it was Mark Guggenheim who made some commentary about him maybe coming back. Like it's not
he died off screen.
I was
Everybody.
like, yeah, they didn't show
They
it.
didn't show his death,
yeah.
Exploded off screen, except for the explosion. Blue, blue, blue. We don't know who survived and who didn't. So
Yeah, that's the big cliffhanger on that one.
Yeah.
that's the Arrow podcast. So we don't know what's going to happen. But
I'd be happy if it was just Ollie that survived. Go
I
back to the
I
beginning.
need me some
thought.
Felicity.
hold that thought.
Yeah, Felicity's pretty hot.
Hold that thought.
Yeah, you only got a quick walk home. Get your Felicity costume out, is what he's saying.
Awkward. Are you going
Is
to keep
it?
watching?
Yes. I'm not related to you, and it's
Hello.
awkward.
Let it go. You had your sexy Swedish at the beginning.
Did you just say sexy Swedish? There's nothing sexy about that.
Did
I
the
don't
Swedish
know.
chef just come into this?
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
What the hell, you dirty bird?
I don't know what's
Yes.
going on.
Oh my.
Are you going to keep watching Legends of Tomorrow?
Yes.
Because you have to, or because you want to?
No, I still want to.
I want to
Both.
see what happens.
Yeah, I want to see how they fix this mess.
If they fix this mess, this could be a catastrophic disaster that...
I would watch every terrible episode just to get to the John Constantine one.
I'm
So
hoping
we
that John
know you're
Constantine's in more than one.
political. It's all about Constantine.
Kyle has the passions.
He does have the passions. I think I'm kind of on the fence as well watching it because, I mean, I know I instructed all of you to watch it because you have to, but I'm feeling like this one's a little bit of a chore, especially if the Legion doesn't come back. They were the highlight of this season for me, so I'm like going...
Well, remember when like Kristen controversially said about Daredevil season 1 that she could have. Am I not talking?
Swedish chef.
Yeah. How I hated season 1.
Yeah, how she could like have it in the background and it'd totally be all right. That's sometimes how I just feel about, which is wrong, but that's how I feel more about Legends.
That's
for
for
sure.
the Daredevil.
No, I'll agree with Hilary on that. No, I can see that with Legends of Tomorrow not
Love
fully
you,
paying
though.
attention.
Love
Like, playing an app on my phone while it's on,
Never
not
lived it
fully engrossed like I am with Flash.
I just really
Hilary
want
fell
it to be
asleep during
better.
every single episode of
exactly.
Legends.
I like a
Has-
crew on a ship.
It has so much
Yeah.
potential.
Well,
It really
but
does. There's some great
in all
characters.
fairness, though, even though it does make me sleepy at times, with like Luke Cage, I felt like I needed like alcohol to get through it, and I don't feel
You were
that way
celebrating?
with Legends. No,
Oh.
celebrating when
like
it was
physically
done.
painful when you're watching.
Luke
Like, I had
Cage
to,
was
drag
so
her from
slow.
the TV.
Yeah.
That's,
And
At least these aren't slow. Even when they're bad, they're not slow.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about how Gideon became human for like a hot second.
So talk about it.
So Gideon became human for a hot second.
That was just a rip-off of the Doctor's
That's-
Wife.
It is.
It
was.
It's a big
Doctor's
rip off.
so many loose Doctor Who
I was
rip-offs.
like,
Yeah.
it's, or the
Still.
TARDIS coming to, is that the TARDIS?
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
there you go.
But at
She's
least-
the TARDIS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this actress is the one who voices Gideon, so it's nice to actually see what she looks like. But yeah, the whole it was the Doctor's Wife ripoff.
Except she made out with Rip.
I mean, who wouldn't want to?
Yes,
Kristen,
but
you got to do something about this. Well, we're going to have you sit on an ice pack next to us.
yikes.
Being single is not fun. So
At least you didn't say something
I
about
have
murder
to,
again.
no. What?
You missed that?
Never mind.
he said it.
Okay.
It happened.
All right.
Something
I'm
about
distra-
Steel's girder.
I'm just distracted by looking at the cute boys on TV.
That's okay.
There's all right.
It
yeah, it's
happens.
all right.
Yeah.
Are you recommending Legends still?
To who?
No.
I guess that's a no.
I may
I-
recommend individual episodes, but I wouldn't recommend the seasons.
I
as a
I
whole.
would
go that far.
literally have to, it would have to be someone who I know likes that same kind of stuff like I do, and I'd give them a disclaimer beforehand.
Yeah.
Like,
I
it's
feel like
like,
anybody that would like the show would
Yeah.
have been watching it from the first season.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say
agree.
anybody
Yeah.
that's not watching it, I couldn't recommend it to them now.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm-
unless they needed
yeah.
some background info for the big crossover episodes that have happened on the other shows, but even then,
Which
they
you
they
don't.
should know
You
who these
don't.
characters are.
The most of the background comes from Arrow and the Flash. It doesn't
Yeah.
come from the other two. So,
true.
I mean, yeah, the only one that I would recommend. Well, I'd recommend two of the Universe shows, and it would not be Legends. So,
What?
I know. Shucky. Anything else you want to say?
Nah.
Since you've come back together and you're not like guessing about each other's stuff, which was a riotous episode. I highly recommend it. About season 2 of DC's Legends of Tomorrow, or anything you want to maybe think about season 3.
Cross your fingers and hope they don't make it worse.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at too, Spencer. Excellent buttoning, as you always do.
I have a
Keep it
post-
Can you tell we're recording this a little late at night?
I mean, that's some of our best stuff.
It is. So Nick is still probably advocating for the sleepover after this one.
we have 4 more podcasts.
So let's pick a Friday night and let's just get this done.
And we can bring wine.
Oh God, so much wine.
yes.
So much alcohol needs to be consumed.
We could do
The
a
last
wine and
podcast
cheese
should be
last night late night podcast.
Wine and cheese. We
Well,
got some
sophisticating
classy.
Jeez, we got some-
This is the classiest sleepover podcast I've ever heard of.
But can we drink wine just straight from the bottle? I don't
You
know if I
can
can
do
be that
whatever
classy.
you want.
Thanks. I got a big straw.
I see you with a nice glass of like Boone or bottle of Boone's Farm.
No, my tastes are a little barefoot is where I
Oh.
draw.
Yes, girl!
That's what I use for cooking.
Gets the job done.
You know, whatever.
So, wine.
And cheese.
And boys. And
Let's just say that we've moved on beyond Legends of Tomorrow to things that are more interesting, like watching paint dry sometimes.
Lead
he
paint
just-
or regular paint?
Ooh. Probably
These
regular in
questions.
this day and age.
Yeah. Low fume.
Yeah.
these questions. So good.
With that said,
I read the button. Read the button.
I would like to thank Nick, Kristen, Hilary, Kylie, and Spencer for joining me to talk about DC's Legends of Tomorrow, but they're not done yet. They still have to talk about 3 other things within this universe, which includes, in this order, Supergirl, The Flash, and Arrow. But until that time, CPU was produced by Backpacker Productions, run by yours truly, the Chief Couch Potato, and hails from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Please, if you like what you hear, take the time to rate us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, or Google Play, or anywhere your podcasts come. Comment on YouTube so we can spread our word. leave reviews, tell us how we're doing. We want to know. If you have suggestions on shows we might consider, contact us at our website, couchpotatousunite.wordpress.com, via email at couchpotatousunitepodcast@gmail.com, or via Facebook and Twitter, though we add new and old shows, chat about around the water cooler all the time. And of course, we have many more new episodes coming down the pike because there's always TV to watch. Subscribe to the blog, any one of our channels or social media accounts, and stay up on everything we're talking about. You can find episodes, any of our episodes, via the web or at our website, but we also have the DCTU episodes. We're now 7 in, if you're at the end of this episode, and there's even more to go. Legends of Tomorrow and indeed all of the Arrowverse shows are only available to stream on Netflix because Netflix won that contract, though new episodes will premiere shortly on the CW and be available via the CW streaming app. We are going to return next in the series to discuss Supergirl Season 2. And then, of course, we'll come back and talk about the others, and then we get to start all over again. Until our next DCTU podcast and our next episode, which are published weekly on Wednesdays, keep listening, keep watching, stay tuned.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.